Hey everyone, it's Tony from the Handlebar Workshops, and today we're in the garage workshop again, working on part 2 of our shed door extravaganza. In this episode, we're going to be hanging the doors on the shed. But while we're in here, I figure we can cut our door jamb right now. It's basically 1-inch strips that go around the top and the sides to prevent bugs from getting inside. I've got a 1x6 piece of cedar right here. I've got the table saw set up to cut 1-inch strips. So I'm just going to run them right through, and we'll get 3 of them out of this board. So while we're still in the shop, I'm going to install the door side hinges onto the doors. That way we don't have to do it out there. This will help in hanging them. What I'm doing is I'm taking half the width of these boards here, which is 2 3/4 inches, and I marked a line that I can follow. These have nice little diamond-sized holes in them, so I can run that line right through the corners of the diamonds there. This diamond is going to be right on the edge of this board right here. The screws are long enough that it'll go through down into this board as it comes underneath, and with that lap joint there. The instructions say, in order to fit this bolt, that I need to drill a 7/32 hole. So I'm going to be using an impact wrench to tighten these screws down. We interrupt this YouTube video for an important message about safety. If you're using an impact driver, whether like this or a pneumatic one like this, make sure that you're using impact rated sockets. They're typically black like this. You don't want to use the normal silver type of sockets because these are very prone to breakage under such stresses. We now return you to your YouTube video already in progress. I'll just do that to the other corners. We'll be good. Well, we've got one more thing left to do before we can hang the doors on the shed. As the rain hits the doors, it's going to travel down the doors and it's going to get trapped in this trough down here. So I'm just going to run a bead of caulk along here, and that should keep the rain out from there and rotting the bottoms of these boards here and on the bottom of each door. And I've also got some knots that I need to fill. This is a pure silicone caulk. It's going to move, expand, and contract with the wood as the temperature changes. So I'm not too worried about any seasonal expansion and contraction, at least not pulling away from this. Now it went on white, but it should dry clear. I'm going to use some water on my finger to smooth everything out. Alright, now it's time to do a dry fit. Make sure everything fits in the door frame. We'll see how that goes. First of all, you can see the caulking dried mostly clear. I don't think it's quite dry all the way yet. But for the most part, it's pretty clear. You can't really see it. Should protect well. We're a little tight down here at the bottom. But you can see we're not quite tight up there at the moment either. It's really tight up here. I think we might be pretty good here. So I put some shims in to give myself a nice even reveal. I can start working on getting the hinges in. We've got a nice little design here where you could just slide the pin straight in, just like that. Then I can use those holes to drill. I know you're thinking, well, that's not very safe. Anyone could just come off, take the hinges off, and take the doors off. But I've got a way around that, and I'll show you guys later. So there's a couple of reasons I moved this kind of over to the side. There's a 2x4 back here, actually a couple 2x4s, that I'm going to try and hit with these holes. So I moved it over so I'm closer, but I'm also going to kind of drill on a bit of an angle back here. So that way I'm more likely to hit those 2x4s, because there's another piece of fascia board that comes up back here about 3/4 of an inch. And then there's a bit of a gap, and then there's the 2x4s. So I'm going to try and hit those. All right, it looks like I got everything pretty much in place where I need it to go. I left a bunch of these screws kind of loose on all 4 corners, just in case I needed any wiggle room. So now I need to go back and tighten all that up. So I'm getting ready to put in the handles right now. I put the tape on here so I can mark up on there with some marker and not damage the wood. The basic idea is to get the bottom of the handle to line up straight with this crossbar here, but like right in the middle. So it looks like we're about 7/8. So I just got to mark the bottom here, and then 7/8 up is where my screw will go. And this is already set to the halfway distance that we set when we were doing the hinges. So there we go. Now using the handle itself, we can mark the top area here. Just line up our cross in the bottom and mark this. Then we come in here. The directions call for a 5/32 inch drill bit. Perfect. And now for the moment of truth. Ah, that's a little tight, but it works. So I got some problems here. I need this door to close easily by itself. Oh. Well, this one is where it belongs, and it obviously it hits. So I'm gonna have to take off a little bit on each of these so that way they close nice and easy together. All right, so this cut's a little scary. The hinges are going to be against the fence, so I've installed a auxiliary follow along here that's lower than the 2x4s here, which is 1.5 inches. This is 3/4 inches. That's up against my fence. I've got the table saw height set to cut a nice straight cut down here. I've got some outfeed rollers over there to support the work as it comes off the table. So it opens and closes really nice. That gap is really big. That's all right. Took a little too much off, but I can work with that. There's going to be a backing to this piece anyway that the other door is going to rest up against, and that's why I'd rather it be a little too small than not small enough. So we're using this 1x4 as a backer for the other door to close against. It's going to go on something like that, and it's going to overhang a bit so the other door can come in and close right on it like that. And I'm going to give this about 1 inch of exposure here. I just need to drop some screws into it. Trying to get this barrel bolt to lock behind this piece of trim here. We're going to have to get a 5/16 drill bit and kind of hog out some wood until we can get it up in there. It's in. Nice and tight. Door doesn't rattle at all. You see we got more green painter's tape up here. We're going to be laying out our lock hasp. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out kind of where I want my lock hasps to be. And mark these holes right in the center, and then transfer them back with the square. So now I know my screws can go anywhere on those lines. We want to make sure there's enough room for when we put the lock bar on here that we're not too close to the edge of the wood here. We're Okay, you can see how the lines go right through the holes. So there we go, there's our 3 holes. Take the tape off carefully so we don't do anything bad with the grain. And there's that. So we line up the first hole. So now we're going to work on getting that nice and straight. We're not going to push it all the way to that side or all the way to this side. We're going to try and get it right centered in the middle. So that way this part comes off nice and easy. And if there is any movement in the wood, whether it swells up or shrinks, we're not going to be hitting the edge and making it difficult. So right in the middle. Put a finger right there. Put my fingers behind it. Move it out of the way. Mark my holes. You want the screw sitting cockeyed, otherwise it won't close all the way. Now we can take the tape off carefully. Well, I dropped that last screw. Can't find it. Let's keep looking for it. And if I find it, I'll put it back in. Otherwise, I'll find another screw to put in there. Oh boy, green tape. That means we're doing layout. This line here is the reveal of this board where the other door will come and shut against it. So we want to be on this side of that line. And this other line over here is the center line of between that line and the edge here. So this will give us a nice center point where we should aim for. We're going to be installing a cane bolt. And the idea of the cane bolt is that it's going to go down into a hole in the bottom of the shed and it's going to keep this door closed. Basically we got 2 brackets that'll mount like this and then another latch at the top. I gotta figure out where to put that. They've got nifty little points on them so they can line them right up with the center. I'm going to take a drill and drill 1 hole. Then we're going to do the same up here. Line up with the center as best we can. Let's see. All right, that's a little too high. So we'll come down a bit. Because remember, this is going to be sliding up and down. Just going to put the screw in a little bit. The idea is we want to make sure that these holes in the brackets are lined up properly, so we can't really add in the other screws until we're sure that this is lined up. So we'll do the bottom one first. So we got the bottom one in kind of loosely. We'll put the top one like this and we'll drop the bolt down inside so we can make sure we got some nice smooth movement here. Now it's in there nice and loose. So at the table saw, I used a cutoff from this board to cut this piece here. I only have it with 2 screws here. This really isn't very structural. It's not really for anti-crime or anti-break-in or anything like that. It's mainly just here to block this up for us. So we can just hang this on there when it's open at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the difference here, put 1 screw in here and 1 screw in here. And then we'll be able to mount that to those holes. Now I'm going to take this off and take the tape off. So here we are at the foundation of the shed. The door with the cane bolt on it twisted on me and it kind of kicks out at the bottom here. So we're going to push it in and drop the cane bolt into the floor. But we didn't know where to do that. So the first thing I did was I closed this door and I marked a line of where this door sat naturally. Then I closed the other door and lined up the back of that door with this line here, or the front of that board that sticks out, with that line there. And this is where the back of that board is, and this is where the cane bolt drops into the floor, this circle right here. So I have to use a hammer drill with a masonry bit to drill in there. That's a 1/2 inch hole, but this is a 5/8 inch bit. That's okay, that gives me a little wiggle room. Some of you may not be familiar with the hammer drill. It's got a handle on this for extra support, and it's got the ability up here to switch between hammer and drill. It's pushed over to the hammer side right now. This is going to be loud and dusty, so I have hearing protection and a dust mask. Alright, so I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Tony, someone can just come by with some wrenches, undo the bolts, and all the doors just come right off. I got something for you though. This is called a hanger bolt. What you've got on one side is a lag screw. What you got on the other side is just a bolt. You can put a nut on that side. So what we're going to do is we're going to sink this into the door, and this will go into the door jamb in the 4 corners, and that'll prevent the doors from coming out even if you take off the hinges. So the first thing we want to do is we want to drill our pilot hole. I'm going into the solid wood. I'm not going into the joint. I'm going into the solid wood. This is cedar. It's a fairly soft wood, so it's kind of a small hole for the larger hanger bolt to go on. So all we've got here is a 5/16 18 nut, and this is a 5/16 18 bolt here at the end. So we'll just put this on, and then we're just going to put the lag bolt end into the hole, start threading it in there. Then we're going to come with our wrench or drill and get it all the way in there. Now the nut is stuck there, but it's really easy. Just reverse. So we'll close the door a little bit. You can see right where the bolt is touching the door jamb here. I left a little mark here, and that's going to be on the outside of the hole that we're going to put in there. So we don't need the hole to come out too farther this way. We want to leave as much meat there as possible. So I've got a 1/2 inch drill bit here, and I'm just going to line up the tip of the drill bit just to the back a bit of that divot. Now this bolt will go right into that hole. And the door closes all the way, and you can't pull the door out because this is right here. The only problem with this is you got to really kind of watch yourself. You don't get yourself hung up on these. So that about does it for this project. If you liked it, make sure to give me a thumbs up down below. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and then hit that little bell so you're notified when I release my next videos. Until then, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time, have a good one. Ow!